welcome back to Echo Base Network. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I am the coach. We are, you are, Echo Base Network. We are going to look at when Frank Herbert saw the original Star Wars, the 1977 debut of the franchise. The author of Dune tried to decide if he'd been ripped off. We're looking at an article by Jonathan Poletti that was posted on November 28th, 2020 at the website historyofyesterday.com. And stick around for the end of the video where we will give our own take. On May 25th, 1977, Star Wars was released to worldwide acclaim, going on to become one of the most successful movies in history. Frank Herbert, the author of Dune, a well-known science fiction novel, finds his son Brian telling him on the phone, "You'd better see it. The similarities are unbelievable." Brian Herbert recalls in Dreamer of Dune, "The film was shocking to me for all the similarities between it and my father's book. In each," he notes, "there were an evil galactic empire, a desolate desert planet, hooded natives, strong religious elements, and a messianic hero with an aged mentor." The Associated Press does a story on August 17th, 1977 asking, "Does Star Wars copy Dune?" Herbert is interviewed and notes he's heard of similarities. "The editor of The Village Voice has been calling me and asking me if I have seen Star Wars and if I'm going to sue," he says, "but I will try hard not to sue." George Lucas is interviewed as well. They are similar, he agrees, in that they both have deserts. He declines to say whether Dune has been an inspiration. Herbert had certainly wanted a movie of Dune to be made, down to the minutest plot point even. The director, Alejandro Jodorowsky, had just given up on finding funding for a 14-hour treatment. A complex space epic as a commercially viable movie hadn't seemed possible. If Dune was to be brought to the big screen, Star Wars might be the only time. Herbert is asked about it over and over. In an August 19th, 1977 news article, he says he wonders about similarities between his Dune trilogy and the hit motion picture Star Wars, but only because he's asked about them so often. In a news article on September 11th, 1977, he finds speculation that Star Wars derived largely from his Dune trilogy a lot of bull. There's probably a good number of similarities there with the work of Isaac Asimov. He isn't considering a lawsuit. Finally, he does see it, and was bored, he'll say. His wife had even fallen asleep. In Eugene, Oregon on December 1st, 1977, he seems to be undecided on what to do. "I'm not going to get into any technical arguments about that," he tells the Statesman Journal. "They have, in other words, invaded my copyright, and I have to fight them." To the Register Guard, he tries to be peaceable, dismissing Star Wars as a comic book for the screen that had copied him. "I just hate to get into this damn thing," he laughs. "I'm going to try very hard not to sue." Though he adds he may have no choice. "Did Lucas plagiarize Dune?" the reporter asks. "I think there's a reason to believe he did," Herbert replies. "Whether it's actionable, I'm not the one to judge." He may be forced to sue if just to prevent future infringements. He is currently suing over the musician David Matthews' Dune album, which had songs inspired by the book, though more noticed for its disco covers of Star Wars music. Herbert would have to agree to license Dune to Lucas, he adds. "Now they put me, and quite a few other science fiction writers, in a bind," he sighs. "I'm going to leave this up to the attorneys." Brian Herbert recalls his father was livid. When David saw the movie, he picked out 16 points of what he called absolute identity between his book and the movie. He writes in Dreamer of Dune, however, other writers had been infringed upon too, they'd agree. So Frank Herbert had organized a jokey organization of the copied called We're Too Big to Sue George Lucas Society. George Lucas, he'd say, was welcome to become an honorary member of the group and pay for everyone's dinner whenever they met. Through humor, Dad tried to mask the pain, Brian Herbert writes. If Herbert feared Star Wars would make a movie of Dune less interesting, the reverse seems to occur. The Italian producer Dino De Laurentiis had become interested in the idea of making a Dune movie. Herbert himself begins work on a screenplay. In 1978, De Laurentiis concludes that Herbert's screenplay, coming in at some 3 hours in length, was unworkable, and suspects the novel was too complex to be filmed as a Hollywood movie. The wheels keep turning, though, and a movie of Dune produced by De Laurentiis and directed and scripted by David Lynch is made. Is it going to be like Star Wars? Herbert is asked in a 1982 TV interview. I really am expecting much more of a David Lynch movie, he replies. By the time it's released in 1984, there are 3 Star Wars movies, each hugely successful, as a huge story seemed to have been told. A lot of things in Star Wars belong to Dune, says Raffaella De Laurentiis, a producer for the movie. I think George Lucas was real smart. It's difficult to turn Dune into what he did. Out doing publicity for the movie, Herbert talks about his book, which is true science fiction, if not something higher, he assures. My Arab friends wonder why it's called science fiction. Dune, they say, is a religious commentary. He likes the movie, or says he does. It creates the charismatic leader, the mythical hero, the eternal battle between good and evil, he says. On Star Wars, he's become indulgent, offering to make peace with Lucas. A friend identified 16 points of absolute identity between Star Wars and Dune, he says. I think at least he owes me a dinner. The David Lynch film was to be the first in a trilogy of Dune films, explicitly fashioned after Star Wars. We're already plotting the screenplay on the sequel, Herbert notes. However, the Lynch Dune was a box office disappointment, and any further productions were halted. Herbert died in 1986. It doesn't appear he and Lucas ever met. Herbert's script for Dune seems to not be in his archive. In its rejection, he may reflect on being a novelist, not a movie maker. Fans kept up comparisons of the 2 franchises. In 2000, a miniseries of Dune was on television. A newspaper review says Star Wars had been little more than a dumbed-down gloss on Dune. For the director Denis Villeneuve to do a film on Dune, forthcoming in 2021, which was actually just released to massive success and fanfare, by the way, it was a long-time dream. I read Dune when I was maybe 13 or 14 years old, he recalls, and I fell in love. The novel is echoed throughout his work. His early film, August 32nd on Earth, involves a couple in a desert. Most of the main ideas of Star Wars are coming from Dune, he notes. When describing his approach, the goal is to do the Star Wars movie I never saw. In a way, it's Star Wars for adults. Does this suggest a curious possibility? To make an original there first has to be a copy. I don't know about you guys, but I am a lover and appreciator of both films. I loved when I read this article for the first time reading the complex history between Herbert and Lucas. We know that George Lucas has mentioned many of the influences that he has had and used for his Star Wars franchise, and it's very particular and peculiar that Dune was never mentioned, ever. So I don't know about you, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I am certainly glad that I speculate. George Lucas did use Dune. He did use elements of the story to tell his story. And am I angry about that? Absolutely not. I love Dune. I love Star Wars. And thank you guys for being here today. We will continue to part 3 tomorrow on this whole looking in depth at Dune and Star Wars. Hope that you guys enjoyed the video. As always, I'm the coach for Nick. We are, you are, Echo Base Network, and we will see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching our video today, and we would like to give a special thank you to all of our members. You make what we do here at Echo Base Network possible, and we appreciate you more than we could ever explain. If you haven't already, join the best Star Wars community on YouTube today, here at Echo Base Network, and we appreciate your consideration. As always, we are, you are, Echo Base Network. May the Force be with you, and we'll see you on the next one.